Emily was seated with the man she is destined to marry at the town's most elegant restaurant when an elderly, barefoot woman walked in, causing a commotion. "So I think I'll have to get a new yacht for the house in the Hamptons, and another one possible for the yacht club here. It's become so tiring to bring it back and forth. Plus, I've been looking at the new models." Nathaniel rambled on about his boats, making Emily's eyes roll of their own volition for what felt like the 600th time. She was trying to be patient and discreet about it. However, it was becoming increasingly impossible, considering Nathan barely needed her to contribute to the conversation. All he cared about was the yacht stuff, horses, real estate, and his inane travels. "But I'll have to arrange that when I get back from Monte Carlo. My friend, Ashton, you know him, right? The son of the Adamson family? He's my friend from Duke. We were in the same frat. Well, his parents finally arranged for him to get married, so we're all going out for his bachelor party," he continued. That sounds interesting," Emily murmured sarcastically. Nathan didn't get her tone. "Right. Well, his bride is also going to have a grand bachelorette, but it'll be girly stuff, right? What do girls do? Do girls like strippers too? I guess they do," Nathaniel continued, frowning slightly. Emily found it fascinating that he would ask her questions, but never wait for her to answer. He didn't need her to join in the conversation at all, but she had been raised so well that she wouldn't dare interrupt his speech. Then again, her mother would kill her if she found out Emily had been rude. She needed Nathaniel to get tired of her and walk out first. That would get her off the hook. Until the next date her mother arranged. "Anyway, the wedding is going to be grand. You're going, right?" he asked, and stopped so abruptly that it took a few seconds before Emily realized he was actually waiting for an answer this time. "Oh, well," she stuttered, "I think we got an invitation." "If not, don't worry. You can go as my +1. Nathaniel smiled arrogantly, as if she was dying to attend the event. "It's going to be the wedding of the year. I suppose a bunch of weddings are in our future. We're all at that age to get married. I never considered getting married for real. I've been traveling so much and working on the business. Where would you want to live?" "Well, she began, but Nathaniel didn't wait for her to answer. "I suppose this city is great. Our families are here so they can help you when we have kids, which is a plus. Or we can just get them to babysit when we fly off somewhere. I've had this craving to visit Barcelona and live there for a year," he commented. "That sounds nice," Emily nodded and wanted to continue, as she had studied in Barcelona for a semester, but again, Nathaniel decided he didn't need her for conversation. "Right? I'm a genius, aren't I?" Nathaniel laughed, sipping his expensive scotch, the same one her father loved, which only made him less attractive to her. He was precisely the kind of man her parents wanted her to marry, but she was unimpressed. She had been around money her entire life. Her family came from old money, the kind that never ends and supports 1,000 generations, so men like Nathaniel were common in her circle. Her parents wanted her to settle with one of them. And he was right. The weddings in their circle had already started, so the pressure Emily had felt her entire life had been ramped up lately. It would only get worse when her peers began to announce their pregnancies. If she stayed single, her mother was going to have a coronary. Emily didn't hate her parents, not even her overbearing mother. They wanted the best of the world for her, but the idea of marrying Nathaniel, or someone like him, was terrifying. The kind of men in her circle thought that they were gifts to the world. Nathaniel seemed to feel like his success was his own, instead of remarkable luck from the universe that he was born into one of the wealthiest families in the world. It's not that Emily hated money. Obviously not. She took advantage of her privileges all the time, like getting a last-minute reservation at the fanciest restaurant in town without much work. Emily didn't want an empty life that focused solely on what vacations she took or how many expensive things she bought. On the other hand, she was a realist. She wasn't looking for love at all, or would run off with a random mechanic or something on a whim. She wanted more, but couldn't figure out what. All her studies, awards, and merits were great for her family's business, which she would help run someday with her siblings, but sometimes it felt like there should be more to life than this monotony, like she was given an enormous privilege for a reason, not just for her to live a pretty, cushy life. I hear that you're helping your brother Robert with the business, Nathaniel prompted unexpectedly.
Yes, with our sister. We're going to...
Your sister Aisha helps too? I thought she was all about yoga and not business, he continued.
She's implementing some wellness routines into the company, some policies for employee health and such, Emily explained, surprised she got to finish her sentence.
Nathaniel chuckled, shaking his head. Oh, well, that's a good job for her. And it's perfect because you don't want any loser going online and trying to cancel the business for mistreatment or something. He nodded, almost to himself. It's ridiculous.
Can we talk about something else? Emily asked, interrupting him for once.
Nathaniel raised his eyebrows. Sure, what do you want to talk about? I'm not sure I'm ready to discuss our wedding yet, he chuckled.
Emily tried to school her face, but it was hard. No, just anything else. What do you think about the current recession?
Huh? Well, it won't affect us, except finally we can get lazy people back into the office. Corporate real estate will be back on top. He started ranting, and Emily dissociated again until a commotion at the door caught her attention.
Please, I just want some fries,
an old woman begged. Emily's eyes zeroed in on her bare feet and frowned. The staff was displeased. The woman wore cheap clothing, and being barefoot was unacceptable at any restaurant, so they tried to escort her out, but something in Emily's heart told her to stand up. It may have been Nathaniel's elitist rant.
Wait a second, she said to the waiter, who was just kicking the woman out of the restaurant. What's going on?
Miss Palladino, we're extremely sorry. We'll get this woman out of here immediately, the hostess fidgeted worriedly.
You can't do that, Emily said. She's with me.
The staff's eyes widened as Emily gestured for the woman to join her table. Nathaniel's face turned red in outrage.
What are you doing, Emily?
He demanded, whispering, although the old woman could hear him.
I'm inviting this woman to sit with us. Is that a problem? She asked sweetly.
The older woman introduced herself as Martha. Yes, it is, Nathaniel replied, throwing his cloth napkin on the table. We were having lunch and an amazing conversation. I don't know what your deal is, but this is unacceptable.
Well, Nathaniel, Emily pursed her lips, we weren't having a good time at all, much less an amazing conversation. You were just talking out of your butt and were so oblivious that you didn't see me rolling my eyes 1,000,000 times.
Excuse me? He asked, outraged.
That's right, she continued. And to be honest, I'm so not interested in you. You're a pompous, pretentious daddy's little boy, and I would kill myself if I had to spend my entire life listening to you droning on and on about stupid things, like which yacht to buy and where to keep it.
Nathaniel was perplexed. He thought Emily liked him because she smiled at him and didn't interrupt his rants. I can't believe this, he exclaimed, rising from the table.
Don't worry, you can tell your mother I'm a witch or something, Emily shrugged. You can say you walked out because I was boring or ugly or whatever you come up with to look good. I'll repeat whatever you say to my mother so they'll get off our backs.
You're crazy, Nathaniel almost growled and walked off.
Bye, she waved at him as she sat down. Her mischievous grin turned sympathetic and kind as she looked at the distressed older woman. Now what's going on? Can you tell me why you're here and why you're barefoot?
Oh, miss, I didn't mean to cause any trouble between you and your date. I just really wanted something for my grandson,
Martha said timidly. The shame was evident on her face, and Emily only felt angry at how the staff treated her. Don't worry about him. You're saving me from sitting here any longer and listening to him talk about how amazing he is and how much money he has, she assured the older woman, patting her wrist gently. Tell me, what do you want? Some lunch?
No, Martha shook her head. All I wanted was some fries for my grandson.
Well, that can certainly be arranged. Emily looked pointedly at one of the hovering waiters.
I have money to pay for it, the old woman continued. It's been a horrible few days, and I just know that some fries can make him smile, even if he's weak.
Weak?
I don't know what's going on with him. He's been so sick, and nothing I give him works. He's running a fever and hasn't eaten anything since the sickness started, Martha continued, looking down.
You don't know why he's sick? Emily asked, concerned.
No, he's got a fever and coughs a lot, but none of the usual remedies are working," she responded, tightening her lips. "He's probably not getting better because he hasn't eaten. I hoped his favorite food, fries, would do the trick so he can start feeling more energy."
"Well, he does need to eat," Emily commented gently. "But shouldn't you go to a doctor?"
"Oh, miss, I'm afraid I don't have enough money for a doctor's visit," Martha replied, ashamed again. "I sold my shoes to a man walking by, and he was kind enough to take them in their terrible condition."
"He took your shoes?" she asked, horrified that the man couldn't just give this woman some money for fries.
"I wouldn't let him give me money just like that," Martha said. "I insisted. I don't like my situation, but I don't like handouts either, miss. It wouldn't have been right."
"I understand," Emily said, frowning but feeling extreme admiration for this lady. "But if I may ask, why didn't you go to a fast food place? It would have been much easier and, well, faster."
"I realized after I sold my shoes that I couldn't go far with all this heat. I saw this place close by, and even with all the fancy decor, I know they have fries," Martha said, looking around. "I have the money to pay for the fries, so that makes me worthy enough to be a customer. That's how our world works, right?"
Emily's smile tightened. She knew that wasn't the case, and asked the woman about her and her grandson. Her circumstances only made Emily feel more terrible, especially because she had listened to so much of Nathaniel's drivel. Their families, with their immense privileges and old money, couldn't comprehend the struggles of most people, mainly as the economy only got worse, and the cost of living became even more impossible, even for people with advanced degrees.
"Well, my story isn't that different from others," Martha started. "I was a single mother, but raised my daughter with hard work and perseverance. Unfortunately, I couldn't buy a house, so I rented. I thought there wouldn't be a problem ever."
Emily nodded, listening intently.
"My daughter went to college with a few scholarships and only took out some loans," the older woman continued. "She was so smart and beautiful, but unfortunately she got pregnant, and just like her father, the man ran out."
Martha shook her head, remembering.
"I told her I would help," Martha said, "so she moved back in with me. I watched my grandson, Stephen. My job let me have him with me. Then I was injured, and I had to quit. But it still worked out because my daughter was doing amazing. Until one night."
Emily swallowed.
"A drunk driver hit her while she was walking home from the bus stop. It was horrible," the older woman revealed. "The only solace was that they told me it was quick. The drunk driver walked away with barely a scratch."
"What about suing?" Emily asked immediately.
"How?" Martha shook her head. "I barely had enough to cremate my daughter. Then I couldn't pay rent, and Stephen and I ended up on the streets. We survive on disability, but it's barely enough for some food and medicines. Still, those don't seem to be working right now."
Emily breathed heavily and looked away from the older woman to hide her emotions. Even if she didn't act like her friends or Nathaniel, she didn't realize how much her privilege shaped everything. Her first instinct was to sue someone, but people needed money for that. Lawyers were expensive. "Your grandson," she began, "is he still going to school?"
"Yes," Martha stated. "It's not easy, but I can send him to school. He tells me he wants to work and try to bring in more money, but I don't allow it. Luckily, the school doesn't really care that I don't have a real residence, so they allow it. I wish it were the same for jobs."
"What do you mean?" Emily wondered.
"With my disability, I can't work in anything with heavy lifting, but I can still work," Martha answered. "But no one will hire me without an address. I've been able to get some gigs cleaning dishes across town and picking up some things, but that's about it."
Emily's mouth was dry, and no amount of water seemed to help. "Okay, first, we're having lunch and I'm buying it. Please let me. It'll make me feel better. Second, let me give you my shoes," she stated, leaning to remove her ballet flats. "You can't keep walking around barefoot on these streets." "No, let me give her my shoes." Another patron at the restaurant had approached their table. That's when Emily noted something strange. Almost everyone at the tables around them was staring. Some wore the same sympathetic and heartbroken expressions she must have. Others looked almost guilty. They had realized that regular people like this kind older woman were actively struggling while enjoying a nice lunch with their excess money. While Emily didn't think she or anyone should feel guilty for having different circumstances, it was still daunting to witness the disparity firsthand. More people volunteered to give the older woman her shoes, and Emily's heart beat wildly as her hands shook with her emotions. Everyone had been touched by the woman's words and her situation.
"Thank you so much,"
Martha told the patron who had approached them first and put on the shoes. "Let me buy you both lunch." Another woman came forward, and Emily shook her head. "This one's on me. Thank you so much," she told the lady, whom she noted was wearing one of the most expensive watches in the world.
"Well then, let me offer you my phone,"
the kind woman insisted, producing a card and giving Emily a meaningful look.
"I'm Olivia. My son is a lawyer, and we can help find that drunk driver. This is so unfair."
"Oh no," Martha shook her head. "I couldn't possibly do that after causing so much trouble." But Emily grabbed the older woman's card, noting her last name and realizing the family she came from. She was definitely going to insist on going forward.
"Thank you. I'll be calling you soon. You can count on that."
"Good. Have a nice rest of your lunch," Olivia said and returned to her table. "Miss Emily, after all this time..." Emily stopped Martha's protest with a hand on her wrist.
"Martha, your grandson deserves whatever he can get from the man who killed his mother. You too don't deserve to have to sell your last pair of shoes for some fries, which anyone in this free country can easily buy with just an hour of work or less. Please accept all the help you can get."
The waiter, who had been rude to Martha at the entrance, came forward with a packed container of fries. Martha started rising, but Emily again shook her head.
"Please order more. Let's get some amazing chicken noodle soup bagged up for your grandson. I'll have the garden salad,"
Emily started, opening the menu.
"Martha, do you like fish?"
"Oh, I love it in any way possible," Martha smiled, chagrined.
"Excellent. They have the best here."
Emily grinned, like they were best friends.
"Let's get a special for Martha."
When they finished eating, Emily drove Martha to where they lived, a tiny tent just a few blocks from the restaurant. It wasn't the worst part of town, but it was still a place Emily would have driven by quickly under normal circumstances. Instead, she followed the older woman to the tent, trying to ignore the eyes of other people who were clearly in similar living conditions. One look at Stephen's red face, and Emily knew she couldn't just give them the food and walk away.
"Martha, pick him up," Emily whispered, trying not to wake the sick boy. "We're going to the hospital."
Martha's eyes watered.
"Thank you," she choked.
Emily helped get Stephen admitted into a hospital and ensured they would give him as many fries as he wanted during his stay. Fortunately, the boy got better with some serious antibiotics, although the doctors worried about his malnutrition and wanted to call family services. Emily got them to back off, promising to fix the situation. She called her business manager, who got to work on opening up one of the apartments in Emily's investment properties. Martha tried to refuse, but knew that Emily wouldn't take no for an answer. Afterward, she called the number on the card, and Olivia directed her to her son. They met with him about the drunk driver, and the attorney promised to get on the case. It had been a few years, but he was sure they could find him. Several weeks later, he called with a name, which shocked Emily. The drunk driver had been Gordon, Nathaniel's older brother. Emily gave the go-ahead to the attorney for the lawsuit. The news circulated in their circle, and Nathaniel soon called her.
"What do you think you're doing? You're suing my brother?"
he asked, outraged. "Your brother killed a single mother who was the sole income for a family, Nathaniel," Emily seethed on the phone, "and he didn't even offer anything for the trouble. They lost their apartment, the kid was malnourished. Don't you care about people?"
"They're strangers. Tons of people are going hungry in the world," he continued,
as if that justified anything. "Yeah, because of greedy, irresponsible little brats like you," Emily told him, her voice dripping with all the vitriol she had mustered up due to people like Nathaniel. Your brother deserves what's coming to him, and believe me, your family doesn't want to go against my lawyer, so I suggest you agree to the settlement."
Fortunately, they did. Nathaniel's family's attorneys said that settling was the only way to avoid tarnishing their son's reputation, keep the story off the press, and not have to pay more. So, a few months after meeting Emily at a restaurant, Martha received several $1,000,000 from one of the wealthiest families in town. She helped the older woman buy a house she wanted and recommended a great business manager so no one would take advantage of them. Emily was also there when Martha and Stephen moved into their home. It was simple, with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and it had a big garden. "I can't thank you enough," Martha told her while unpacking some things. Her eyes were bright with tears. "My grandson will have a future thanks to you." "No, I just did the right thing," Emily shook her head. "You saved Stephen from an illness, you gave us a home for free, and you got us a lawyer. Now we have more money than we could ever spend. It's unbelievable. I only wish my daughter was here." Martha wiped her tears away and looked at Emily. "I think she sent you to me." Emily's throat got thick. "Oh no, don't make me cry on such a happy day," she said, shaking her head while smiling. "Besides, you helped me too." "How?" "When my mother heard your story, what happened at the restaurant, and everything else, she backed off," Emily revealed. "She stopped setting me up with men from that world. She told me, 'You're right, you're too good for men like that. You don't need to get married at all if you don't want.'" "Well, I'm sure she just wanted what's best for you," Martha grinned indulgently. They were startled for a second as Stephen ran inside from the backyard. "Grandma, the kid next door invited me to play on his PlayStation. Can I go?" he asked urgently. Martha nodded, looking outside at the boy waving from beyond their fence. "Yay!" The boy ran off, and they laughed. "I know you modern gals can wait a long time," Martha continued when the laughter died, "but I see you as the best mother any child could have, so don't wait too long to find love and start your own family." Emily chuckled and continued unpacking. After the experience with Martha, she started a charity, fully supported by Olivia and her powerful family. They started helping the poorest people in town, starting with the other homeless folks who had lived next to Martha and Stephen. They worked to find lawyers who could work pro bono so people could have a fair chance of getting what they deserved. It was varied and attracted a lot of attention in Emily's world. People were eager to help her, and she didn't care that it was probably due to the tax breaks. She would take it. They held an event in a public park where people could get free legal advice from lawyers for their cases, and it was then she met the partner of the lawyer who helped Martha. His name was Eric, and he was stunning. "It's so nice to meet you," he greeted her with a wide smile. "My partner said great things about you and what you're doing here for the local people." "Thank you. It's great to meet you too," Emily replied, grinning as her hands started to sweat. "Would you like to volunteer?" "Actually, yes," he nodded, and Emily beamed. At the end of the day, he invited her to dinner, which she accepted fully. As they ate, they talked. He told her about his work in several fields of law, and his charity work too. He also asked about her and how she had gotten interested in things. They talked about the world and life and how unfair some things were. Eric was also from a wealthy family, but instead of taking over their business, he went to law school and forged his own path. Still, he understood his luck and privilege and was grateful for it. She fell for him quickly afterward, as he helped her whenever possible and was passionate about using what Providence had given him to assist others. Obviously, Emily's parents were delighted when she accepted his proposal and got married. Martha volunteered to watch her kids whenever needed, and Emily agreed because it made her happy. "See, I told you you would be a great mother," Martha said, bouncing Emily's second son in her arms. "I didn't doubt you," Emily smiled. "I just didn't think I would find someone I wanted to start a family with." Martha grinned back. "He is perfect for you," she said, and they both stared out Martha's kitchen window, where Eric was playing ball with their first son and Stephen. "He understands what truly matters in life," Emily said. "That's why he's perfect." "Yeah," Martha agreed.